I did it from the comfort of the Gunflint Lodge on my 13th wedding anniversary. I haven't gone live on a laptop. We're doing it for the first time tonight. We, as in me, by myself. I have a pretty fantastic set of questions, and I don't know what I'm going to get through, but it's going to be in regard to entrepreneurial work in the healthcare climate. Quickly, before I continue, I am going to set up my live on Instagram so that I can run both at the same time because goodness knows there's only so much time in a day. Hi, Instagrammers. I haven't done this before. I was just telling YouTubers that I'm going live to discuss the entrepreneurial world in regard to healthcare. We've been doing this for 5 years. I've been in the field for 15, but I've been running this clinic for 5 years, and I have a lot of questions from a lot of people, and they're very specific. So I'm hoping to do this on Sundays. I don't know if it'll work, but I am coming to you from the climate, using that word a lot, the comfort of the Gunflint Lodge up nearly in Canada, 6 hours from the metro. This is where Eric and myself had our honeymoon 13 years ago. We are celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary. It's pretty fantastic to be here with the fire going. It smells incredible. I can't even begin to tell you the nostalgia and the just the sentimental value that all of this has had for me being here. We actually would love to build a cabin up here someday in the middle of nowhere. So fingers crossed, someday we'll see. And that's why I'm actually here speaking on the entrepreneurial side of things. We built the clinic so that we have the potential of doing that and being able to be up here for long periods of time or being wherever we choose to for long periods of time. And that leads me into the first question. So again, I have a lot of questions from fellow clinic goers. So whether you own one or you're thinking of having one, in the chiropractic world specifically, not that this has to be specifically chiropractic, but in the chiropractic world specifically, we are not taught business, not well, certainly not as women. And I don't dislike men by any means, but our profession has been predominantly male dominated. And our world as women is very different, especially in that we typically are the ones nurturing the kids. It's not that men don't nurture. My husband is very nurturing, but we have to make and create the humans, and that takes a lot of time and energy, and it changes who we are, just emotionally, professionally, physically. So when I built this clinic, I built it 10 years after I had graduated from grad school, and I spent about 10 years in grad school. So I was, give or take 20 years an adult when I started this clinic, and I already had 2 kids, and I was building it based off of my own frustrations. And the biggest thing was learning how to build it as a solo entrepreneur to start, which is how most clinics run their clinics, certainly to start, but then they typically run them like that for quite a while because you make more money when you do that. So you seriously make more money when you run a clinic by yourself for a long time. So if I had run this place by myself for 5 years, I'd be making a lot more money personally than I do now, but I would be making a lot less money in total than I do now. So the first question I've kind of been culminating or capturing a lot of questions that I've gotten from entrepreneurs. And the biggest one, I'm actually going to read it. She's looking to have a group team-based practice instead of being the only practitioner, and to transition into an office brand instead of like a solo personal brand. So one of the things I did, as soon as I possibly could, was I took my face out of things as an individual. Now, it did take hiring other chiropractors and team members to do that, but I did it. So I should back up. I did it even before I had other chiropractors. So I didn't even wait till I had another doctor. I did it even when Steph, our team manager, was there. I used the team aspect as a way to pull myself out of the brand. And we did brand immediately. So I understand that there are some clinics that aren't necessarily branded as a general, like, idea or topic. They're branded as their personal identity, and you have to pull yourself out of that. It's difficult for sure, but I think the way that you do it is you strategize. So you slowly pull yourself one thing at a time out of it, and you instead incorporate a team aspect. So even when it was just me and Steph, I was able to not pretend, but certainly amplify the fact that it was not just me. So there was a lot more of Steph being involved in stretching, exercises, and video, and a lot more, and she's not a chiropractor. A lot more her getting comfortable talking about the products that we use in the clinic, or just talking about the things that patients were asking or talking about, as they walked into the clinic. The second I took myself out of it completely, and that was probably, we did our soft open for 3 months. Steph came on board, I want to say 2 months later. So about 5 months into the official start, I started pulling myself out of it as a solo brand, or a solo person as part of that brand. And we actually, again, did start it out as a brand with a logo that was not directly related to me. So our brand is CHIRO for Moms. It has nothing to do with my name, nothing to do with our location. I could literally pop this thing up in Australia and it would mean the same thing, right? And my husband's in advertising, so he's always said, if you're building a brand, say you even have an LLC that's set up under your name specifically, right? So your name is, well, let's use my name, Dr. Jessie Lilliord, and I call it Lilliord Chiropractor for the first 3 years, and I want to pull myself out of that, and I want to somehow create a brand. The way that I would do that is I would still obviously operate the LLC, everything that gets billed under Dr. Jessie Lilliord, but I would somehow create something like a tagline. So when we first started, we actually had a tagline. It was "Live Your Best Life," which was super trendy at the time. And you could do something like that where you are obviously operating your LLC under the same LLC. It's still your name. Maybe that never changes, but branding wise, you start operating under a tagline. You create this thing that feels good, that looks good, that you can put all over your boards, all over your clothing, all over your walls, all over your emails, that ties into your clinic, but isn't directly tied into your name. And then at that same time, you start bringing in team members and using them as a way to kind of pull yourself out. And it's not that any of us in the clinic are actually well versed in social media or actually really enjoy it, to be perfectly honest. I don't even personally, but we found a way to play off of each other and use each other to create a team aspect. And it's not fake, it's all real, but capturing it on screen is obviously, it can be a little more difficult. But creating the team in general, I mean, that kind of pulls me into how I actually started building a team and pulling myself out of it individually, because my whole point of doing this was to literally set myself up, in case I got sick or broke a bone or something, because the job is physical and we have a brick and mortar and I have to physically show up to make money. Um, I literally hired as soon as I possibly could. In fact, my husband has given me compliments on this, because there were times where he thought I probably shouldn't hire yet, because obviously I would be making more money if I didn't. But I always hired as soon as I possibly could, or as soon as I kind of got the inkling that we were getting busy enough and we needed another person. I always did it almost ahead of time, and it forced me to constantly keep moving forward with the branding and the team aspect and the backup for backup for backup. So our clinic is literally set up to have backup for backup for backup. So if one of our front office team members can't show up for a day because their kiddo got sick, one of the doctors will jump on board. Obviously, they can't jump on board for one of the doctors, but then we have 5 different doctors who are constantly moving into that space if somebody gets sick or if something happens. And what that means is I've actually set it up where I pay my doctors for 21 hours of treating, or sorry, for 40 hours of doctor work, but they're only treating 21 hours. So they're treating just a little over 50%, which means you have wiggle room as far as the backup for backup for backup. And then that lends itself to more collaboration on the team aspect on social media and how it looks when you're pulling yourself out of the brand. So a big part of our marketing now is it's always outreach, and then it's creative on the social media, Instagram realm. And so with those other 19 hours that they have, if they're a full-time doctor, that's a lot of access to popping on to talk about, again, a product that we love, or a stretch that we love, or actually filming a stretch that we need for YouTube, and then moving it to Instagram. That's reaching out to patients and just really talking to them on a personal level, and paying attention to what they're doing. But that's a very big part of how we've created the team aspect. Is I've hired basically ahead of time as a way to build a really big foundation, so that further down the road, long, big picture down the road, we have backup for backup for backup. And then that allows me to pull myself out of the marketing, which is huge. I never obviously wanted to be the face of this, but when you start out as the primary person running it, you naturally are going to be the face of it. And so again, bringing people on board even before you're ready, it allows you to do that. I actually took a loan out on my house to hire our first team manager, or Steph. So to hire her, I took a loan out on my house to have her there. So that was 5 months in after the soft open. It was 2 months after our main open. And that was integral into creating the team aspect immediately, right? I didn't even have another doctor for another, I don't even know, 2 years after that. So it took time to get more doctors, but in the meantime, with our front office and the rest of our team, I was investing in this creation of a team aspect, and really kind of finding a way to pull myself out of it. So I hope that answers that part of it, in regard to the marketing side of things. And I'm going to try to continue doing this and answering your questions as they pop up on whether it's social media or YouTube. Ask me more. Let me know your thoughts. If you think what I'm doing is silly, that's fine too, right? Like, we're all entitled to our beautiful opinions, but certainly chime in and let me know what you're thinking. And thank you for being here tonight. I always appreciate it. And I'm gonna hop back to my fire and actually watching the rest of the Twins game, because we are also watching that while we're here in basically the middle of nowhere up in Canada. I say Canada, but it's the Gunflint Trail, top of the Gunflint Trail. I recommend, if you haven't been, make it up here. It's gorgeous. It's incredible. It's worth the trek. Here comes my husband. He's walking in. Thanks, you guys. Enjoy your night. Happy Sunday.